welcome to Metropolitan Stadium in Bloomington, Minnesota for this afternoon's NFL battle between the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings. Hi, everybody. I'm Frank Lieber along with Johnny Morris. First place at stake today in the NFC Central Division. Interesting matchup between two interesting ball clubs, and I guess you can start at quarterback, really.
Yes, Bob Avellini of the Bears did a fantastic job last week, especially because it was the first game that he called himself since he was in high school. Jack Pardee, the Bear coach, decided that he needed more leadership on the field. Rather than sending in the plays, he was going to give Bob Avellini a chance to do it. He did a great job. He completed 11 of 17 passes for 3 touchdown passes. They upset the Rams 24-23. Big night for the Bears last Monday. They're trying to continue for today.
Okay, Francis Tarkenton, age 37. Every time he throws a pass, it's a new NFL record.
He is something else, a great field general, and he knows, Fran Tarkenton knows, that the Bears are 14th on pass defense and 14th on total defense in the NFC. So you can bet that he's going to come out and throw that ball today.
And, of course, you got two of the better running backs in the National Football League, maybe two of the best, as a matter of fact, plying their trade this afternoon. We're ready for the opening kickoff here at Metropolitan Stadium. And the Vikings almost break it. Manfred Ford, number 36. Receiving Bob Thomas kickoff. Here's the Vikings backfield as they line up. Brent McClanahan does the same thing for Minnesota as Roland Harper does for the Bears. The Viking receivers, all of them veterans. Sammy White, second-year man. He's the youngster in that group. And the offensive line, Wes Hamilton starting in place of Ed White, the veteran who was a holdout till the first week of the regular season. First and 10 for the Minnesota Vikings at the 30-yard line. As we get underway. Let's got Foreman in motion. The give is to McClanahan, who tries the left side. McClanahan out of Arizona State picks up a couple to the 32-yard line. It'll be second down 8. Here's the Bears defensive line. Jared Myers, who has beaten out Mike Hartenstein for that job in the last couple of weeks. The Bear linebackers, who have remained intact all throughout training camp, and a couple of changes in that secondary with Doug Plank back from the injury. He's now in there, and Gary Fencing has beaten out Craig Clemens in the last couple of weeks. Second down 8, Vikings at their 32-yard line. Foreman crosses the 35 and out to the 38. It'll be third down 3. Here's a fine run.
Yes, Foreman does the job up the middle. Jim Osborne almost slowed him up, but Foreman with the strong legs went on to get a few yards. He hasn't had the big average so far this year. He's only gained an average of 3 yards per carry, as opposed to Walter Payton, who's gained 6 yards per carry. But Foreman does a lot on catching the passes. He's a good man all over the field.
Officiating crew headed by Bob Frederick today. Third down and a long 2 needed for the first down. And they give to Foreman, and Foreman drives just across the 40-yard line. And looks like he has enough for the first down of the ball game. Osborne making the stop for the Bears. It looks close enough that we may need a measurement. And Frederick is going to call him the change.
Frank, I'm sure that the Vikings would like to get their offense untracked a little bit. They've only scored 52 points in 4 games, which really isn't a lot, but they've won their games. They've had good, strong defense, and Tarkenton has started to open up. In fact, he's thrown his last 65 passes. He has not had an interception after having 5 in the first game. So they've been a little slow to get untracked on offense, and they're hoping to break loose today against the Bears, who are 14th on pass defense. It's going to be a heck of a game. It's got to be close. They've had 5 points separating the two teams the last 3 times they've played.
Last year, of course, each team won once, and each decision was by 1 point. Sammy White in motion, the pitch to Foreman. 45 to the 46, lost the football, but I believe it had been whistled dead as Doug Buffone, number 55, made the hit for the Bears.
And there you see the value of Chuck Foreman, the quick move that he took to move up the field as they had a man in motion. Now, watch 44, Foreman cut inside the block and take the yardage. He saw the hole, went up, and got the gain out of it. And, of course, he fumbled, but it was after the whistle. The Vikings have had 13 fumbles in 4 games. That's a lot of fumbles.
They do play that great defense, though. They're third in the league in the least number of points yielded. So Minnesota's defense kind of keeps them in the ballgame. The offense seems to do just enough to win. Second down 5. McClanahan bouncing off one tackler at the line of scrimmage, got back to the line and maybe a yard, but certainly no more than that. Doug Buffone jamming the hole that time.
Yes, but it was Jim Osborne who got in there to jam up the play. He was in there like Wally Chambers is when he's healthy. Osborne charged across the line of scrimmage, busted up the whole mechanics of the play, and then the rest of the Bears got in there to mop up. The Bears, as I said, are last on total defense, but they've come up with some big plays. They had 4 interceptions last week, despite giving up 415 yards, and they could have had 6 or 7 interceptions.
Third down, 5. Minnesota at its own 45. Early moments of the ball game, no score. Tarkenton. First pass of the afternoon. He drops it off to Foreman. Foreman is at the 50. He's got the first down into the 45. And that, of course, is one of the favorite ploys of Francis Tarkenton. He probably drops it off to the backs as much as anybody in the game.
He certainly does. He never leaves them in to pass block. He sends them out, and Foreman, of course, catches a lot of passes every year. And you get him the ball, it's like an end run here. Now watch, they have him, and he'll dip inside of Wayman Bryant, number 50, and get the extra yards that he needs for the first down. It's just like getting that Foreman out on the end on an end run. He's in the same position.
Officials mark it at the Bear 46, second first down for the Vikings in this drive. Tarkenton, like what he did the last time, goes to the air again, and this time he's got Sammy White for a first down at the 20-yard line. Sammy White cutting inside the 2 defensive backs, number 48, Allen Ellis, and number 46, Doug Plank.
And boy, Ahmad Rashad on the other side was wide open, too. Boy, they may come back to him, but you can see Stu Voigt turning in, and then you see Sammy White coming across. He brings him into the inside, and no chance for the coverage. Good play by the Vikings. A nice drive down to the 20-yard line already.
27-yard pickup. Tarkenton 2 for 2 in the passing department. This Viking drive started with the opening kickoff. They haven't given up the ball yet. They have 3 first downs. Now at the Bear 20-yard line. Foreman to the 18. It'll be second down 8 as he's jammed up by the middle of the Bears defensive line. Francis Tarkenton, no stranger to the Bears. This is his 26th NFL start against Chicago, going back to 1961, and of course that very first game.
I know, I played in that one. I remember. Yes, new expansion team in '61. They beat us, I think, 37-13. A great victory for the Vikings. Norm Van Brocklin was the coach at that time.
Second down 8. Fights at the Bear 18-yard line. Tarkenton rolls left, looks right over the middle. Foreman, the intended receiver, took his eyes off it momentarily. The phone on pass coverage. This telecast is presented by authority of the National Football League. It's intended for the private use of our audience, and any rebroadcast or other use of this telecast without the express written consent of the Minnesota Vikings and the National Football League is prohibited. Third down 8. Vikings from the Bear 18.
There's been a lot of talk about the condition of the field. As you know, Frank, last week it was really muddy and kind of a quagmire, kind of ruined the game in a way. But they fixed it up a little bit. It's dried out. There's a lot of green paint. Looks a lot better than it really is, but at least it's playable and not too slippery.
Bears digging in here, trying to hold the Vikings. Big play, third down 8. Rush on Tarkenton, he gets it away. And the pass is incomplete, intended in the far corner for Ahmad Rashad. Spivey was back there defending, number 47, who was in the game for the Bears. That sets up fourth down and brings on Freddie Cox,
who has played in, I believe, 200 consecutive games. They gave him a game ball last week. 200 games, that's a lot of games.
This will be a 36-yard field goal attempt. Krause to hold. Only 7 players in the history of the league have played in more than 200 straight games, and 3 of them are on the Vikings. Far enough. No good. Missed it left.
So there's a big play. The Vikings drove all the way downfield and wound up with zip. So it's still nothing ball game. Key drive.
So the Bears take over, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Prestone, Prestone. You need Prestone.
America, you've been changing.
Coming, going, changing, growing. The things that make up life.
Why is Bank AmeriCard becoming Visa? To keep up with you.
You're traveling, you're moving, you're taking more from life.
Today, you need money that's good around the corner, all across America, and in 117 countries around the world. That's why Bank AmeriCard is becoming Visa, the most widely recognized card in the world. Visa, we're keeping up with you.
Sudden death overtime in Bloomington, Minnesota. The Bears' first sudden death game ever against the Minnesota Vikings. Just a moment ago, we had the coin toss. This is just like the start of a regular game. It's the 3rd time the Vikings have been to sudden death, including once this year. And the toss of the coin was won by the Chicago Bears.
And Frank, after running down to the bottom of the stadium, I have run back up so I could be with you as the Bears won the toss. And that doesn't necessarily mean too much, because 58% of the teams that have won the toss in overtime have lost the game. So I picked that out as I was going through numerous statistics last night.
It's not bad, John. Just off the top of your head, 58%.
And I'm sure, though, that any team would like to win the toss. So it has to be an advantage for the Bears to have the ball first. So it did wind up 16-16, and a lot at stake. A two-game swing on this one game. If the Vikings win it, they'll be 2 games ahead of the Bears. If the Bears win it, they're all tied with Minnesota for first place, along with Detroit.
I just repeat the ground rules for the sudden death. You have a 3-minute intermission, of course, the toss of the coin, which you've already had, and a 15-minute sudden death period. The last 2 minutes, if they get that far, are like the end of the first half of the game. That type of rules apply, and if they get through the 15-minute period and no one scores, it goes into the books as a tie. But the first team to score is the winner by any means. The statistics, Vikings wound up 316 total yards to Chicago's 294. Pretty close. Bears ran 2 more plays in the Vikings, 66-64. Avellini 13 out of 21. Tarkinen 13 out of 26.
And it all goes back to a couple of block kicks. This ball game would have been the Bears had not an extra point been blocked. And then a try for a field goal in the final minute and a half, which was blocked. Great defense by the Minnesota Vikings, who have done it so many times.
Freddie Cox, who is not one of the longest kickoff men in the league. Get a bulletin from Dallas here. Billy Kilmer has been injured and is out of that Washington-Dallas game. So Joe Theismann is now playing quarterback. And as soon as this one ends, most of you will see the second game of our doubleheader, which is the Cowboy-Redskin annual grudge match. Art Best, the deep man, one of his better kickoffs. Best has it go into the end zone on him. He'll fall on it there and down it for the touchback. No sense fooling around back there.
It'll be the Bears' ball, 1st and 10 at the 20, and I don't know, in a situation with overtime, an important game like this, I would even consider having Walter Payton back on kickoff returns, wouldn't you? He's the kind of guy that could break it. You'd take a chance once or twice with him, maybe. I know they don't want him to get hurt. But
this game means so much, really, when you get right down to it. Difference between being tied for the lead or being 2 games out. A lot of pressure on this young man from Maryland, Bob Avellini. Harper and Payton are the setbacks for the Bears, and Avellini comes out throwing. Scott to the 26-yard line, pickup of 6. It'll be 2nd down and 4. Tackle made by James White, number 72. That is a second period score. Mark Mosley with 2 field goals for the Redskins, but Billy Kilmer has been injured. And most of you will see a good portion of that ball game as soon as this game ends. That's the second game of our CBS doubleheader. Scott wide to the right side, Rather set in the slot inside of him. 2nd down. And a mix-up there as Alan Page scoots through.
they can't really figure out what's going on here, but Avellini was doing the right thing to make sure he tried to keep the ball, and the Vikings kept going after it. But the center seemed to appear to snap the ball when Avellini wasn't quite ready for it. It was a mix-up on the play, whether it was caused by...
The penalty goes against the Bears. Of course, that costs them 5. We'll get the call here from the referee, Bob Frederick. Or will we? We never did get an indication,
yes.
But they did walk off 5 yards against the Bears.
Well, Bob Avellini wants to go out and find out just what the situation is. They have a 3rd down and 10 right now.
Should only be 2nd if it was a penalty.
Yes.
But Bob Frederick didn't tell us what happened, so we can only guess. They're showing 3rd down now. I think they're indicating no penalty, just a loss for the Bears on the play. Here's Payton.
Watch out.
Look at this. Payton doing it all on his own. He looks like he's about a yard short of the first down. That last play was recorded as a 7-yard sack for Alan Page. There was no penalty involved.
Walter Payton on the draw. They chose to go with the run, and Walter is so elusive. He almost got away, but the Vikings continued their pursuit. You can see Jeff Wright forced him back inside, and Seaman made the tackle, got him by the legs, and down he went. But that second down play was the costly one.
Vikings playing return all the way here as Parsons gets a good kick away. Driving, Manfred Moore back. Fields the ball at his 18-yard line, and he is caught at the 20. So the Vikings ball 1st and 10 at their 20-yard line. Well, that play was confusing there, wasn't it? Looked for sure like there should have been a penalty on the play, but the official said, when all was said and done, no penalty, and simply a sack of the quarterback by Alan Page. The Bears lost 7 yards on it.
Well, the Vikings could have refused a penalty. They may have called the penalty, and the Vikings refused it because the play went through, and they call it as a sack. I don't know. It didn't work out for the Bears anyway. It worked out for Minnesota.
1st and 10 for the Vikings. Targeting. Wants to go long. Didn't go anywhere.
Now, that is just fantastic, the way Tarkington was caught there and still had the presence. Somebody's grabbed onto him and threw it right where a receiver was.
It'll be 2nd and 10 from the 20-yard line. Tarkinen in regulation had 13 completions in 26 tries. Had 1 pass intercepted and threw for 144 yards. Just another day at the office.
Never gets hurt. Never.
Never. Big rush. Wally Chambers in there applying pressure. Rashad at the 30 out to the 35-yard line as Virgil Liver slipped and went down. And that's the reason that Rashad was as open as he was. Liver's lost his footing.
And there wasn't much in the way of linebacker help there as Wayman Bryant, number 50, goes in. And there he is, man for man. And that's a tough situation for any defensive back. He slipped a little bit, but Rashad made the grab. And it was a key completion. But he had a strict man-for-man situation there.
Vikings 1st down at their 41-yard line. Rashad wide to the left side. Sammy White is flanked to the right. Robert Miller in motion and is Foreman. Up the middle, and Foreman is out to the 45 for a pickup of 4. 2nd and 6, Mike Hartenstein, number 73, leading the defensive charge for the Chicago Bears.
And I think we have to keep in mind that there is a very strong wind behind the Vikings so that they don't have to penetrate that far for the possibility of a field goal. I'd say it's got to be a 25-mile-an-hour wind. I may be wrong, but it looks that way to me.
Officials mark the ball at the Viking 45-yard line. 2nd down, 6 needed for the 1st down. Miller again in motion. Tarkinen rolling to the right. Protection is good. Stops and fires downfield, and it is complete to Sammy White at the 38-yard line of the Chicago Bears. Gifted 2nd-year receiver from Grambling.
And Tarkenton gets outside so that he has the room. And just a nice move in the out. Ellis came back, tried to reach over and knock the ball down, but no dice. Ahmad Rashad with a good grab. Let's take it again. Let's watch it as he goes out on the rollout. No penetration by the Bears on that side so that he has time to get out there and throw the ball. Ellis was there, but so was the ball.
1st down from the Bear 37. Francis Tarkinen over the middle to Miller to the 32 to the 30-yard line. So the Vikings continue to penetrate and move ever closer. Getting in good position for a field goal drive with Fred Cox.
Well, they faked that screen or the swing pass out to Foreman, and Tarkenton carried it through and then just dunked it over the middle. 2nd and 3. Vikings are in good control right now.
Ball is at the Bear 30-yard line as Francis Tarkinen looks over the defensive alignment. It is Foreman behind Miller's block. Inside the 25 to the 23. 1st down, Minnesota. Ten minutes and 40 seconds left to play in the overtime period.
Take Foreman to the outside. Lead the way. Reeves comes through the middle. Can't get there. Foreman cuts back. Ron Yeri, the tackle pulling. Foreman cuts up the field before a host of Bears knock him down, but it's another first down for the Vikings on the 22.5, easily within field goal range. So, will they go conservative? Will they keep control of the ball and then kick?
Foreman has picked up 146 yards rushing at 25 carries. Easily his best day. Miller inside the 20 to about the 16-yard line. Second down. Vikings need 4 for the first down. The officials mark it at the 17.
This is where I tell my players, go for the ball. Go for the ball. Knock it loose. Dick Butkus used to do that so many times for the Bears. Of course, when you go for a ball, tackle the ball, you have a chance of missing the tackle, but at this stage, what do you got to lose?
Tarkenton giving again to Miller, and Miller carries to the 15-yard line. It'll set up third down and 2 needed for the first down. Vikings moving with the wind at their back. And, of course, the field goal kicker has the advantage of seeing exactly what's going on. You see those flags on top of the goalpost. They're exactly for the benefit of the field goal kicker, and it's blown to the Vikings' advantage, and they're in excellent position right now. If they were stopped right now, it's a Vikings shaking up on the play. It looks like Miller. From this point, they would need a 32-yard field goal effort from Fred Cox. So they're in excellent shape. Timeout. We'll be back in a moment.
Highway light poles can be treacherous, especially if they stop your car dead on impact. That's why Alcoa helped develop.
How about the amazing Denver Broncos? They lead Oakland 21-7 at the half. The Broncos have intercepted 4. Chicago and Minnesota battle overtime this afternoon. Here's Avellini rallying the Bears, going to Greg Latta. 16-13, Chicago ahead. Now, Chicago had a field goal. They could have won it in the fourth quarter, but it was blocked by Blair and Allen. Now, watch Sir Francis with time running out. Give him credit for one thing. He doesn't quit, folks. Here is Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Intentional grounding. We go to overtime. Now, fake field goal. Minnesota goes for the touchdown. And they win it 22-16. And Jimmy the Greek, there's going to be some wise guys who are going to say they did it because of the number.
Forget about it, Brent. To begin with, it was a great play call. It was the first down. If the pass is incomplete, they still can go for the field goal. But Grant, don't challenge his integrity. I mean, he's a good man, honest man, and plus the fact that Minnesota was favored by more than 6.
All right, Irv, what about that World Series going on? Yankees trying to wrap it up.